Hello everybody, welcome back to Eat Sleep Game. My name is Luke, this is my face, and we are doing another list video here today. So the Game Awards happened yesterday morning for those of us living on the other side of the pond, and while I sure do question a number of the awards they give out, who they give them to, and whether or not we can really call it an award show anymore when the recipiented award gets rushed off the stage within 30 seconds and it can roll the next lot of ads. But there is no getting away from the fact that the Game Awards is just a lot of fun, isn't it? A lot of the pomp and circumstance around it is a great celebration of gaming, and we don't really get that all that much anymore, with E3 losing a lot of its luster. So of course, just like any award show, the big one is the one that really anybody ever remembers, and we have a brand new Game of the Year winner. But where does that Game of the Year winner stack up against its peers? Well, let's find out, shall we, as I rank every Game Awards Game of the Year winner. At number 8 we have 2014 Dragon Age Inquisition. Now, Dragon Age Inquisition was the very first Game Awards Game of the Year winner, and well, it wasn't exactly a strong year, was it? Now, Dark Souls 2 was really popular, but it was widely accepted not to quite live up to its predecessor. Hearthstone, while enjoyable, really didn't fit the supposed criteria, being a literal card game and all. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor was really good, but Bayonetta really should have walked that one, in my opinion. And where was Shovel Knight? Shovel Knight didn't even get nominated, which blew my head off when I was researching this. I looked up the past winners and all the nominations and that. Shovel Knight doesn't even get a nomination. What? Shovel Knight was easily the best game that came out that year. Easily the best game, but nah, didn't even get a fair shot at this. But back to Dragon Age. Now, I tried a few times to play Dragon Age Inquisition, but I just never really found it any fun to play, and I never really got the love the game received at the time. Possibly because this was my first foray into the series, and BioWare do a pretty terrible job of accommodating new players. And I do think in hindsight that people don't quite look so fondly on the inaugural Game of the Year winner. Also, Dragon Age Inquisition holds the lowest Open Critic score of all the Game of the Year winners. Granted, it is still a very high 88, but that doesn't help my point. At number 7 we have 2016's winner, Overwatch. Now, yes, I know Overwatch was an absolute Goliath. It was hugely popular and hugely successful, but hear me out, there are a few reasons that Overwatch is this low. Now, firstly, it's my list, my rules. Seriously though, I never actually played Overwatch, but it's not bottom because I did actually still find some enjoyment from the game, be that watching the occasional stream or learning about the characters, which just really made me wish I could play through a story with this interesting group. But the biggest reason I have it so low is actually pretty simple. It goes against the supposed rules of the Game Awards. Now, to win Game of the Year, it said you must deliver the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields, which, if we are being really honest, it doesn't, does it? It just doesn't. It delivered the best experience in its specific game style, and I only really bring this up because if Overwatch can not only be nominated but go on to win Game of the Year with its very specific style of game, that being the first-person shooter, hero shooter genre that it kind of innovated and made super popular, why can't Forza? Forza was super popular. In fact, Forza has been super popular every year of the Game Awards. Every single year, it is one of the highest rated games, and Forza Horizon 5, I believe, is the highest rated at the franchise. And it's the highest selling, it was the most popular, it was the highest reviewed game of the entire year across all genres. But why can't Forza Horizon 5 be in discussion for Game of the Year? And going back to Overwatch, when you're up against the likes of Uncharted 4, Inside, Titanfall 2, and Doom, this was really just a popular choice, which, again, if true, why can't Forza Horizon 5 be in this year's conversation? Seems a bit hypocritical to me. Personally, on that year, I would have probably gone for Doom, not Doom Eternal. That was later. Just Doom, just 2016 Doom I would have gone for. Also, fuck Activision. At number 6, we have 2021 and It Takes Two. Now, It Takes Two is the latest recipient of the Game Awards Game of the Year. And don't get me wrong, I did really enjoy my time with the game. Granted, that may have been because I played It Takes Two with my brother and we have the exact same sense of humor, but It Takes Two is a great game in its own right as well. The gameplay is so smooth and all of those mini games you could come across were an absolute highlight for me. But after the halfway point, roughly, I found the game started to lack, especially story-wise, and a lot like Hazelight's previous game, A Way Out, the ending was pretty underwhelming for me, where I really think they could have taken the ending in an interesting direction and tell a slightly different, more mature story. They once again opted for the off-trodden path. Again, It Takes Two is a great game, but it pales in comparison to the 5 games ahead of it on this list. At number 5, we have 2015 The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, from this point on, the ranking actually got quite difficult. Unlike the previous 3, I have no real problem with any of these top 5 being named Game of the Year respectively. Now, The Witcher 3 is a phenomenal game and was fully deserving of the Game of the Year win, although I personally think that Bloodborne maybe should have won. Maybe. I just think it's a better game all round with The Witcher not really having great combat. I really go back and forth on those two though. But either way, they are both leagues ahead of their competition. The Witcher itself is in conversations as the best open world game ever, especially with the great way the side stories can weave back into the main narrative, making everything you do in that world feel meaningful instead of just time filling and ultimately pointless quests. At number 4, we have 2019's winner, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Now, despite the controversy, again, Sekiro was fully deserving of its Game of the Year win in 2019. I personally enjoyed Resident Evil 2 Remake a bit more and would have probably picked that just ahead of Sekiro, but Sekiro being picked here feels like redemption for the 2 prior snubs. Sakura, like Bloodborne before it, is probably the most complete game of the year with incredible combat, stunning visuals, great audio, and a wonderful setting. On top of all this, FromSoft opted for a much more narrative-heavy approach than its prior games, making it that much more compelling for fans who love that side of the FromSoft series. I really need to make some time to go back and finish that game. At number 3, we have 2018's winner, God of War. Now, 2018 is the most difficult year to pick one singular game, with games like Marvel's Spider-Man, Celeste, and the one that ultimately makes this year so difficult, Red Dead Redemption 2. And I'm honestly not sure which of the incredible reboot sequel, God of War, or the grand epic western should get that number 1 spot. Of course, God of War did take home the statue, and it's unquestionably deserving, with many considering it one of, if not the greatest game ever made, and becoming many people's new favourite after giving a previously one-note character an ocean's worth of depth and telling such a well-written and relatable story, while still somehow keeping that challenging and ultimately fun and rewarding combat. And while I don't disagree with those who call it one of the best of all time, I think there are 2 that are still better. At number 2, we have 2020, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, this was a game that absolutely dominated pretty much any award show it was part of, and the Game Awards was no different, with The Last of Us Part 2 winning 7 of the 11 awards the game was nominated for. And it was my own personal Game of the Year too. You can check out that review and that Game of the Year video on the channel still. Now, while Hades was a very close second for me, and I honestly wouldn't have been shocked had Animal Crossing snatched that award away, given how popular it was in 2020, The Last of Us Part 2 was head and shoulders above its competition for me. They improved on the gameplay and still have some of the best stealth mechanics, in my opinion. Both the visuals and audio were masterful, and the story was just incredible, daring to piss off a portion of its fan base to tell the story that Naughty Dog felt had to be told, and it was told expertly. Now, I would have perhaps liked a smoother transition in the middle section, but otherwise it was well crafted and masterfully told. And at number 1, we of course have 2017 and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. While 2017 will always be known as a stellar year for games, as well as the year the Game Awards made a powerful and eternal enemy by snubbing the phenomenal Nier Automata. How dare you? It is also the year that gave Game of the Year to perhaps the greatest game to ever be made, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. Breath of the Wild had some stiff competition too in PUBG, which had an impressive year, and Persona 5, which was simply a masterpiece and would have probably won if it was not for Zelda. I think it would have. And there was also the beloved titles like Mario Odyssey and Horizon Zero Dawn in the mix too. Breath of the Wild absolutely nailed the open world formula. It has simple but effective combat, and yes, while we don't need to talk about weapon degradation, we will absolutely mention the music, the use of said music, and that incredible story. Like The Witcher 3, but even more so, the Breath of the Wild uses its side missions to fill the player in on the story and lore of the world, and tell some simply wonderful short stories while you work your way up to defeating Calamity Ganon. I will never, ever forget building Tarrytown. Pair the glorious open world with some really innovative uses of the Switch, and not only do you have the greatest launch game ever, but perhaps the greatest Game of the Year winner too. And that was my list. Thank you very much for watching. What do you think? Woo! Which title do you think is the greatest Game of the Year winner? Do you think there ever will be anything that can unseat the Breath of the Wild? The Breath of the Wild? The Legend of Zelda, The Breath of the Wild. Too many those. Too many those. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my list? Who do you think should be in that number 1 spot? Do you think Breath of the Wild is the greatest Game of the Year winner? Maybe you think God of War is. Maybe you're a Dragon Age fan. Not me personally, but all power to you if you are. Once again, thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Do not forget to hit like if you liked this video, and please do remember to subscribe. Share this with your friends. Come find me on Twitter at LJMaven, and find Eat Sleep Game over on Twitter as well, and have a good rest of your day.